We witness it every day, irresponsible driving leading to a range of serious consequences, from financial loss to injury or even to death. What can be done to address this? Stay with us and learn more on this episode of The Issues. I'm Sarah Bernard, and thanks for staying with us. On today's show, we're discussing how driving is a serious responsibility and not a rite of passage or a game. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, approximately 1.6 million car accidents occur annually due to cell phone use, texting, or general driver error. At least 57% are caused by alcohol and impaired drivers. Despite what causes an accident, these incidents leave families facing ongoing challenges and heavy hearts. Let's hear from a representative of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MADD.
So every year, thousands and thousands of individuals are killed by impaired driving, which is a 100% preventable crime. The statistics continue to increase. I would also just like to point out that the current world that we live in, impairment is not just alcohol. Impairment does include THC, which is legal in the state of Missouri, but it is illegal to consume THC or other substances and get behind the wheel of a vehicle. Even though this was started in 1980 by a grieving mother, MADD does not discriminate when it comes to services. Everybody can be a victim, including a dear friend, a mom, a dad, a sibling. But the lifelong impact that impaired driving has on an individual is nothing that can be explained in words. They don't have a new normal. They will never have a normal life again, and that's where the MADD program comes in. We provide services, again, 100% free of charge, and that includes going to court with them if there's a criminal trial. If there's a civil trial, we're there 100%. We help them with their victim impact statements. We provide them with assistance. Maybe the breadwinner of the family was the one that was killed or injured. We make sure that they have resources that they need to continue their life. On average, we get anywhere between 6 and 10 new victims a month. And on average, we serve approximately 100 to 200 individuals a month with services that are 100% free. To mention that MADD is just not focused on victims. That is our core value, and that's where the mission was created for, but we do have a youth prevention program. It's 100% free. We have 2 specialists in the state of Missouri that are full-time, and they go into schools because we believe it begins at home. We believe we need to educate the parents on impaired driving, and we also need to make sure that our youth understand that getting behind the wheel of a vehicle is a responsibility, it's not a privilege, and that they need to take it seriously when it comes to impaired substances in their body.
Thanks, Tabitha, and we'll speak with Tabitha again later in the show. First, I'm going to talk to some women who have lost loved ones due to irresponsible drivers. I'm joined by Dawn Whalen, Jennifer Neldon, and Ella Brewer. Welcome, ladies. So glad you could join us today in this very, very difficult topic. You all have faced serious loss in your families, your children, your cousin Ella, and thank you for sharing with us today. But it's so important for all of us to hear the tragedy that can occur from reckless driving. Jennifer, let's start with you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your story with your daughter, Gracie?
Sure. Grace was killed on April 29th, 2023. She was 23 years old. She was heading home. She had been out with friends. She was in her own lane, going under the speed limit, had her seatbelt on, and just, I imagine, dreaming of being at home with her puppies and her cats. And a 16-year-old left a post-prom party with 3 of her friends. All of them had drugs and alcohol in their system. They were not wearing seatbelts. They were texting and driving, doing TikToks, speeding around a corner when she had Gracie head on. Grace was killed instantly. The 16-year-old's car caught fire, and 3 of the kids in the other car died as well, 3 girls.
That is such a tragedy. That's terrible. And it's just a few years ago. And Ella, you are the cousin to Gracie.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your part of the story, because you have some interesting other relationships here.
So I was obviously Gracie's cousin, and then I also had a relation to someone else in the car who I went to middle school and high school with, and was friends with her throughout my school journey. And she was a close friend of mine.
So you lost a friend, you lost your sweet cousin. Yeah. So what's it been like for you all? And I love that you're here today, and you have spent a lot of time, both of you, and Dawn, you as well. We're going to come to your story in just a moment, talking out and speaking about the tragedies that can happen from kids or anyone, any age, texting, driving. We're distracted when we're driving. There's so many distractions these days. How has what you're doing helped you both with your grief?
Well, it's such a shock. Grace was healthy. There was nothing leading up to this that gave us warning signs that she wasn't going to be here tomorrow. So the shock of it does something to your brain that can't be fixed. You're left with very, very quickly, what do we do next? And because this is so preventable, and because this could happen to anybody, it became literally life or death for us to talk about Grace and to say, if this could happen to her when she was doing all the right things that she was supposed to be doing, it could happen to any one of us. Drugs and alcohol behind the wheel are preventable. You don't have to do that. You can get an Uber. Wearing a seatbelt is very preventable. Just put it on. The texting and distracted driving, no reason for it. Pull over. So it's just become a mission. We're just telling everybody as much as we can do, because we can't do anything else. We can't bring her back.
Right.
And Dawn always says, and this touches my heart so much, but you feel like if I just do this, she can come back. If I just do the next right thing, she might make it back. And so your mother's heart is aching to do the right thing that will bring her back. So we're shared in that mission of talking about our kids who can't talk for themselves anymore.
Yeah, let's talk to you, Dawn, a little bit about your story. Your son, Alex, just a little bit over a year ago, passed away.
You never think anything like this will ever happen to your family until it does. And then you're put in a position that you have to do something. You have to speak out. So Alex's story was he was at home and he was running out for a snack. He left his lights on in his room and his laptop open. He was coming home. Mm-hmm. And there was a wrong way driver that was drunk, hit him head on, and he died instantly. So, there's just nothing that can prepare you. Mm-hmm. And when something like this happens, it's almost like a mode of survival, to tell his story, to honor him, and hopefully people will listen and feel the impact and maybe change their behaviors.
Yeah, what you all have experienced is every parent's nightmare.
Yeah.
Every parent's nightmare.
It's unimaginable. When people say that, you can't even reach the depth of the pain. And I never knew that everything is, you can have a feeling of happiness and pure sadness at the same time. There might be like the wedding that you were at with your son, so it's a joyful occasion, but then it's also heavy. Like sometimes you can't even breathe. Mm-hmm. And you have to pretend in your mind that he's just downstairs, or in his bedroom just to get through.
And you were all connected through MAD, which is an amazing organization. We're going to talk to Tabitha from the organization later in the show, but what a great way to find people who are going through what you're going through. It must be very comforting. Sadly, that we have to have that organization, right? But for you all, I would imagine
it's the club that nobody wants to join.
Right.
And we are a lifeline to each other. MAD provides opportunities for us to get together and spread awareness together, and also lean on each other for support, because it is, like Dawn expressed, there are no words to describe how we feel, because those words don't exist in our language. Mm-hmm. It's a pain that's so raw. But when you put us in a room together, it almost is a little Band-Aid, a temporary Band-Aid that we're like, okay, she's made it this long, I can make it that long. Or, okay, now the next milestone, she's made it 5 years. I can make it 5 years.
Yeah.
It's a shared pain that until you go through it, and you pray that nobody else goes through it. But the moment we hear of it happening to somebody else, we all reach out because we know what they're going to need coming up.
That's wonderful. It's a gift you can give each other, which is great. Ella, let's talk about when you heard about your cousin Grace and your friend and all these other kids there. You were all at the same school, and is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What was that like for you?
It was hard. It was definitely kind of a torn decision to feel, am I allowed to feel sad for
you were
my
in a really
friend?
difficult position because
absolutely.
your cousin, member of your family,
Right.
was the victim of this accident. Your friend was part of the group that was recklessly driving and participating,
Exactly.
creating videos or whatever they were doing when they were driving.
Mm-hmm. So it's a point where do I feel sad for her or am I upset with her? So it's definitely a very hard position to even be around your family, knowing that, I was friends with the girl that did things that should not have happened that night. So,
and one of the things, so this accident was late at night after prom.
Yeah.
And there were 4 teenagers in the car, which that alone is against the law.
Right.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I don't know if that's something that people know. Ella, you may not have even known that.
I did know in the beginning, but it's something that honestly just slips your mind.
Right.
You really don't think about
it's
it.
one of those little in the driver's handbook.
It really just gets through the cracks. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, Jennifer.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were breaking the laws of the graduated driver's license. She only had her license for 2 months, so she was not an experienced driver to begin with. I think that does come into play because you're distracted. The radio's loud. Like I said, the phones are out. And you just don't realize the risk at that age. You have no idea the consequences that could be coming.
And we see it all the time, these carloads of kids leaving the high schools or even after school, right? And so we need to definitely make sure that word is out to the parents.
Yeah.
I think parents can really help.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the show as well. Ella, are you still at the same school? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So what is the culture of the school like now? Has anything changed in terms of driver safety?
I wish that I could say that it has. You'd think that it has, and there actually has been more incidents of my school at the same accident, not to the same extent, but no, it really hasn't. And it's really unfortunate to see, and I have kind of become an outsider of my school because of that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm constantly representing the thing that nobody wants to see.
Right.
But no, I wish that I could say that it has changed, but unfortunately, even with them seeing firsthand, it truly hasn't.
Yeah.
And maybe it has for some people, but for majority, I continue to see it. So.
Yeah, that's really a shame. It really is. And you're in a difficult position. I can see that.
Yeah.
But good for you. You're a senior graduating this year, and you're here to help share the pain that you've been through, and that's a great thing.
Thank you.
Dawn, what do you want parents to know, or families or drivers, these young people? Your son he was 29. He wasn't a teenager, and he was a victim. Any of us could be a victim of a drunk driver.
Right. Well, when you drive a car, that's a big responsibility. You are responsible for your life and others. And so you have to have a value of life to make decisions. So if the decision is to drive, and after you have been drinking, you're putting everybody at risk, everybody on the road. And all of those people, they have family just like Alex. And you're rolling the dice, whether you're going to make it home alive or other people may not.
Yeah.
So it's just something heavy to hold on to. I mean, you can't, once something happens, then, it's just over with.
Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Any age. That's the message. All right. When we return, I'll be joined by a couple of safety driving educators. And as I promised earlier, Tabitha Perkins from the organization MAD. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. And ladies, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. I'll be right back.
So commentary driving is basically, as you drive, you're pointing out loud what you're seeing, what you're doing, how you're reacting. So if you're coming up to a stoplight, you might see that it's green, but it's been green a while, so you are anticipating that it's getting ready to change. So you start verbalizing that. And that way your teen also starts to realize that they need to key in on those type of things like the stoplight, or maybe you're coming up to a stop sign. Maybe there's vehicles stopped ahead. If just talking out loud and verbalizing what you see and what you're doing, now as your teen gets behind the wheel, you start having them do that.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, today's topic is driving as a responsibility. To continue this discussion, I have Simon Anderson from Coach Harder Driving School, Allyn Workman from First Impact, and Tabitha Perkins from the organization MAD. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. We just finished the first segment of the show with some very difficult guests who've gone through some tragedies in their families related to responsible driving, and you all hopefully are going to help us with some solutions to this problem. So Allyn, let's start with you. So tell us a little bit about First Impact as an organization and what you're doing to help families.
Well, First Impact came about, we started rolling out programs in 2016 because driver education is not required in the state of Missouri. So obviously it's parents who are going to be doing the coaching. So our program is set up to help coach parents, coach their teens. So we talk about teen risks, some of the challenges that they have, and offer some strategies to help solve those problems and work with the parents on the coaching and monitoring of their young driver as they go through the graduated driver license law phase to where they get full licensure.
So let's talk about the graduated license law.
Every state has a graduated driver license law. They're not all the same. But we do know that since the graduated driver license law went into effect across the country, crash rates have gone down between 20 and 40% across the states. So we do have one. It's 3 stages. You can get your permit at 15, and then we encourage you to get to 15 because you can't get your license until 16. Mm-hmm. But if you get at 15, it lets you drive through all 4 seasons of the year, so that you get to practice in everything that's going on. And then at 16, they can get their license, but they then are under the steps of the GDL. And one of those steps is you can't drive between 1 and 5 a.m., which, unless it's an emergency. Mm-hmm. We also talk to the parents about they have their own curfews that they can set that would be more stringent and probably be safer for their teens. But the big one that comes into is the number of passengers that they can have in their car. So once they get their license at age 16, for the first 6 months, they can have 1 passenger under the age of 19 that's not an immediate family member. After that, then they can after the first 6 months, they can have 3 passengers under the age of 19 that are not immediately family members. Here's what we do know. So when we add that second passenger, the crash rates double. If you add a third passenger, the crash rates go up 4 times.
Oh, wow.
So the GDL is not to punish the teens. It's there to help keep them safe under their parents' observance. We also talked to the parents a little bit about the teen taxi. We know that sometimes parents are excited to get their teen to help drive their younger brothers and sisters to practices or games or whatever. But we're pretty sure that sometimes siblings can have greater fights and arguments than the other passengers that a teen might have. So we really encourage them to be careful about how they have their young driver develop, going through the development stage and driving their young family members.
Mm-hmm. And this all makes so much sense. How are you getting the word out? How do people find out more about First Impact?
We do have a website. You can go to Google First Impact Missouri, and then that tells a little bit about our program. We're funded through the state of the Missouri Department of Transportation. We're administered through the University of Missouri at this point in time. And we also then are able to promote it. We create posters that we send out. We contact various communities, people, churches, hospitals, police departments, ambulance districts, drive schools, anybody that will have us come out that we try to communicate with. It's a 90-minute program. It's free. And we talk about all those things, the GDL, the stresses that parents might go through with their teens, and offer some suggestions about how they might be able to keep their teens safer.
So if a parent hasn't had the opportunity to hear you speak, they can go to the website, get a lot of this information and guidance. I think parents need guidance. They need to know that they need to ask these questions. Right. I think a lot of parents are just excited because their kids are excited about getting their driver's license, but there's so much impact to that responsibility. Right, and we do have some things on there about the GDL. But on that website, you're also able to click on and see where we have programs scheduled across the state. It's a statewide program. So if they're looking for something in their particular area, they can Google on it and click on it and get registered to sign up and join us if they would like. Yeah, so there's a lot of resources out there for parents, and it's just knowing what they are and helping kids see the responsibility. It breaks my heart what we saw in the first segment with these parents and what they've gone through. That was so unnecessary. All right, Simon, you are a driving instructor. You run a driving school for private instruction, which is a great idea. I always told you my kids all learned privately when it was too hard for me as a parent. It's hard for us to teach our kids to drive. So talk about what you do and what you're witnessing in our community.
Of course. So I'm the owner of Coach Harder Driving School here in St. Louis, the largest driving school in Missouri, where we offer behind-the-wheel driving lessons and teaching students of all different ages the practical aspects of driving, along with the thinking portion of driving. While we're in the car, we're able to show students the correct way and the correct decision-making processes that they should be going through as they're making decisions on driving.
Her parents say that they want to be the one to teach their kids to drive, that it's kind of a rite of passage, it's something they've been looking forward to. How do you feel about that? Is that something that in some cases makes sense or generally would not be recommended?
I think it's great for parents to be working with their kids, and in some ways it's a great experience for parents, or it can be viewed as that, because you're able to teach your kid, and in some ways it might be the last time you really get to teach them a lifelong skill again. Your kid is 16 or older, so you have, if you look at it that way, you really have that parenting and teaching bone, then you definitely do it. I do recommend getting help in terms of knowing where the resources are, whether it's a private driving school or through your local school, finding those resources to help you and make sure that your teen is learning the correct methods.
Yeah, so it could be a combination of the parent teaching and private instruction. So what do you talk to the students about with regard to phones in the car?
Driving is a responsibility. And with that, it's a 2-ton vehicle that's driving down the road. So distractions, cell phone is just one of them. Whether it's other teens, we're talking about the GDL, whether it's eating in the car, playing with the radio. So there's so many different distractions. Cell phones are just one of them. And the hard part is, I think that a lot of students or drivers know that cell phones are a big distraction, but they underestimate the amount of distracted that they are when they're actually doing it. So I think we've all been driving down the road and seeing other drivers on their cell phones
all the time,
whether it's weaving in and out of the lanes or forgetting to go at a green light.
Do you have rules of thumb, or maybe you do, Allyn, either one of you can chime in on what people should do with their phones in the car? Should they, a lot of people have them sitting out, right? Should they be out? Should they be in a glove compartment? Should they, what do you teach?
Our recommendation is to put the phone away, whether it's in your pocket and not look at it. If you feel it buzz or ring, you don't answer it then, you pull over. And it's one of the things that we tell parents too is, what we'll talk about later maybe is a driver teen parent contract. And having a rule in a parent-teen contract of if a parent calls that you're not going to answer the phone right away, that parents should expect a call to be answered or called back within 5 minutes, allowing enough time that you might could pull over and safely make that call.
Where can parents get, is there such a teen parent driving contract that exists for guidance, or do you ask parents to create this?
There's definitely templates, because every situation is going to be different for different families, whether who's paying for the maintenance of the vehicle or the gas. Are there going to be curfews? Are there different areas that they're going to be allowed to go to or not? the family members they can drive with or not, where they can go, are they going to work, also what the stipulations are in terms of calling back. And my recommendation is always to build it into a reward structure that a month of safe driving with no incidents, you'll get to drive your parents' car.
Yeah.
But also setting those expectations and making sure that your team knows that it's a responsibility and that expectations should be followed. And setting it all up front as to what the ramifications would be.
Yeah, you have so many different things that parents can do to help control the situation. Tabitha, let's talk about, you were earlier on in our show, and we appreciate the videos that you helped create. You represent Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And what do you see as some of the driving mistakes that people are making? I mean, there's so many. I'm sure you all could comment on that.
So as Simon said, the weight of the vehicle, and you put an impairment person behind the wheel, it's no longer a vehicle. Now it's a deadly weapon. And the goal of all of us is to make sure that the driver, as well as those that are driving on the streets that are your innocent bystanders, can get home safely. And so speaking along with these guys, that teenagers, it's a responsibility when you get your license. So we also offer free programs where we go into the schools and we offer the Power of Youth and Power of Parents. Because as we've all stated about the parents, it starts at home. And so we want to provide the tools with the parents for them to have those hard but heartfelt and very meaningful and very much needed in today's society conversations about impairment, about wearing your seatbelt, about making the right choices. And if you're in a situation where there is another driver that's impaired, what can you do? And then trying to explain to the students that your brain is not fully developed until you're age 25. There's scientific knowledge behind that. And we want them to understand that you can't make that choice when you're 16, 17 years old. And, impairment does impact your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Allyn, do you see any common typical driver mistakes that, whether it's any young people, teenagers making, even adults?
Well, and Tabitha touched on it. It's choices that people make as to how they're going to carry themselves while they're driving. Is it too fast? How the lane changes? Did they follow too close? Are they speeding? Those are all choices that we make about keeping each other safe. Obviously, we can't control what the other people do, so we have to be a much better defensive driver, trying to figure out what other drivers are trying to do. So we encourage the parents to work with their teens on what's called identify and predict, decide and execute. Identify potential dangers, predict what might happen. So that gives the teens and the adults as well just a few more seconds maybe to make a choice. And that might be the difference between life and death in terms of that. But we're talking about distractions for the teens, but we have to remember this is an adult issue too. It isn't just the teens that are having those issues, because we as adults get distracted doing some of those things, and getting back to the phones, we, like Simon, we ask them to put them away, but we also know the reality. So create a ringtone that's separate for mom, for dad, and grandparent. So if it goes off,
you know who it is.
They know who it is. They don't have to look, and then give them a few minutes to pull over and return that call.
Yeah. I actually had an adult say, I don't think of seatbelts. I mean, I feel like everyone wears seatbelts. We know to do that now, right? And I heard an adult the other day say in the back seat, she never wears one. And I'm like...
And we know that the number of deaths that are caused in the state of Missouri, about 60% are not wearing seatbelts. And the number of seatbelts being worn in the back seat is much, much less than the front. And when a crash happens, they're going to get catapulted to the front, and they're going to do damage to those people in the front that may be belted.
Yeah.
But the people in the back aren't.
So the people in the front need to insist.
Exactly.
That everyone wears their seatbelt.
And we see when the kids leave the school, you guys mentioned that a while ago, and kids rush out of school to get in the car to get off the parking lot before everybody else. So where do those book bags go?
Yeah.
In the back seat. They're the same thing as somebody in the car not being belted.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, we have to unfortunately wrap up. You all have so much important information to get out. We really appreciate you being here very much, and hope that all of our viewers will go into your websites and get more information, because there's so much to learn and so much to share with our young new drivers especially. I hope that today's topic has provided some safety tips on how each of you can become more responsible drivers, and all of us here as well, and how to teach our children to be the same. And remember, you too can join the discussion. Log on to Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and stltv.net, and stream us on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV+. Be sure to tune into our next edition of The Issues, where we'll have another informative topic that can always help everyone in our community. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you all for being here.